The topic that everybody is excited for us to talk about, it's the big buzz in the industry right now, is the rapid release, and is rapid release coming to an end?
Exactly.
There was an article on the bottom line about this last week. There's a Kickstarter campaign by Truant. He's got a book about the artisan author. We'll break all of this down. But before I kick it to Jonathan to talk about this, I want to first define what rapid release is. So rapid release is this technique of releasing one book every month. It used to be faster than that, and then it kept getting faster and faster. But about a book a month is the pace. Sometimes it's even faster. And the goal is to make about $2,500 a month off of the current book that launched that month, $2,500 off your backlist, for a total of $5,000 a month or $60,000 a year. So it's a path to a middle class income and being a professional author by writing really, really fast. And this is not actually new. Every new technology of printing has created this phenomenon,
Right.
or at least the last several ones have. The last one was the paperback novel.
Right.
There was a whole army of people who go to like an office and they clickety clack on their typewriters all day long and write, a book a week or a book a month. And it was called pulp fiction, was the kind of term for that style of writing. It was very popular. And so at some point, readers stopped wanting to read pulpy novels and started to want to read more substantive novels. There's always demand for pulp in certain genres. So some genres tend to be pulpier than others and with a more voracious reader
Romance, post-apoc,
lit
some
RPG,
lit RPG, definitely
very
game
pulpy.
lit
Yeah.
RPG. These are the pulpy ones right now, where it doesn't have to be great; it just has to have a good story and help me get over my workday. So that's kind of what would be pulp today.
Yeah. So Jane Friedman in the bottom line interviewed Johnny Truant. I backed his Kickstarter campaign. He's got a Kickstarter campaign. I think it's for a book titled The Artisan Author, if I'm remembering.
Artisan author, yeah.
Yeah, expect that word, artisan, a lot. Joanna Penn has been using artisan a lot.
Yeah.
Johnny Truant is using it. And so break down kind of what's Johnny's argument in this book and kind of this shift in the movement.
Okay, so when Johnny was talking about it, he was saying that particularly because of the rise of AI, okay, and we're talking not just in the writing, but in the production process, okay? You have the novel itself, you have the editing of the novel, you have the cover of the novel, you have the sales copy of the novel, can all be done through AI, and it's going to start producing this really repetitive, iterative pulp fiction phenomenon again. And so it was a huge trend back in 2010, 2012, that time frame is when authors were writing 99-cent novels. Okay, they would write a novel every 3 weeks and put it out on Kindle Unlimited for 99 cents or whatever, and they were just trying to get page reads, and the more pages you have to read, the more money you made. The problem now is that AI can make more of those books than a person can, faster, and about at the same level of quality.
And it's not AI, it's a person using AI. Because I actually know one of these people. So I won't say who it is, but I know an author who's got, let's say, a dozen pen names. It may be more than that. And he uses contract writers for some of the pen names, and he uses AI for some of the pen names. And there are certain genres where if you buy a book in this genre, there's a 50% chance if you buy a book off the top 10 or 20 books in the genre, you're buying a book from him, from one of his many pen names in this genre.
I'm pretty sure I know who you're talking about.
And so he's able to, well, there's quite a few actually. So what's happening?
I know. It's a thing now.
This is the new strategy. If you're going for a revenue maximizing approach, you are using AI, you have a lot of pen names, you're generating books where you're writing a book in a couple of days, and you're using all of this AI automation as a part of your process. And what's happening is that the authors who are trying to rapid release are kind of like John Henry.
Yeah.
So, do you know the story of John Henry?
We all know the story of John Henry. Oh my gosh, we've all seen Tall Tale.
Not everyone's from America. We have an international audience. And John Henry was actually based off of a historical figure. So when we were putting in the railroads, crossing the country with the railroads, we were building tunnels for railroads. And the way that they would do it is that they would pound with metal hammers. There'd be one guy holding this giant metal spike with a lot of trust, and then another guy with a sledgehammer hitting that metal spike and not missing and breaking the fingers of the guy holding the metal spike. And they would hammer, 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 hammer. They tunnel this hole, and then shove in some dynamite. They'd light the fuse and run, blow it up, shovel out the rocks, do it again.
Yep.
And sometimes they just hammer away and not use the dynamite. And it was a very manual labor process. It was very dangerous, letting a bunch of men with inadequate supervision
Hammers
play
and
around with
dynamite.
hammer and dynamite in matches. It was the 1800s. Lots of dead bodies. Okay, so a man invents a steam hammer that can hammer faster, and it's steam powered. And the legend of John Henry, he was like the strongest man. He was the best at hitting the iron pole with his sledgehammer, and he races the steam engine all day. And he's like using multiple hammers in the legend version, and he wins, and then he dies.
He dies.
And the moral of the story is, and then the next day the steam engine kept going. And what's happening is that authors who are trying to race using the old methods of just sitting in Microsoft Word and typing faster, you can only type so fast, and you can never type as fast as the AI author or the author using AI can type. And so if you're playing that game, you are becoming John Henry, where like you can go faster and faster and faster, but eventually you're gonna die. You're gonna burn out. You can't keep up the pace. Right. And the whole market is kind of realizing this of like, you either are going to have to embrace the AI tools and start using the steam shovel yourself and the steam hammer, or you have to take a different path, which is the artisan author path.
So this is reinforcing something I've been saying all along, ever since authors started freaking out about how AI was going to take our livelihoods away. You need to develop your voice. If you have a voice you have developed yourself, and it is clear, and it is, also you have to have lived an interesting life to develop that voice, okay? I was in the Marine Corps, clearance investigator. I've done all kinds of things that have given me just a really strong voice in the stuff that I write. AI can't write like me. Be quiet, Thomas.
You just prompt the AI just to mention that it's a Marine every third sentence, and it's got your voice like that.
Absolutely. Exactly. Well, okay, yeah, maybe.
You just get to steal your valor. No problem.
But I'm a Marine that doesn't swear. AI can't do that. Okay, yeah. There's not enough of us that are like that. But if you develop your voice and you've had an interesting life and it infuses enough flavor into what you write and you really develop it and you get fearless about your voice, okay, like I am not worried about speaking at the Novel Marketing Conference at all. You know who is worried about it? Thomas. Because
I'm very optimistic about this.
I'm very optimistic. My voice I've been developing for a really long time, and I've been developing hand-to-hand combat to go along with my voice. So just learning to write in a way that portrays your ideas in your frame, in your context, in your setting. Okay, that's one reason I have a problem with the revamp of Narnia. Because Greta Gerwig has taken Magician's Nephew and moving it from the 1900s and moving it to the 1950s. And that doesn't work because the setting of the Magician's Nephew is just as important as the story itself. It's inextricable. You can't take it out. Okay? You need to have the context and the setting to get exactly what the author was saying so that the story is as faithful to the message that it was trying to do as possible. You cannot start pulling these things out. Now, AI is going to write whatever AI is going to write at the time. Okay, it's just going to pull from the body of work that it has. It's going to create a composite, and it's going to spit that out. It's not going to develop itself. It's going to take and develop itself from other people. Okay, if you work on this artisan level stuff, if you, you know how you spend $10 more on cheese, it's artisanal. But that's a thing, right? It gives it more value when it's more work put into it. Okay, when you can recognize the brush strokes that the artist used on the canvas. When you can see the styles that they're going through. People talk about the blue period of certain authors, artists, and you can really see how the context of their life is really impacting the art that they're putting out at that time, and that's what people are looking for. That's the kind of connection that people want to have. Thomas
And
is
why
absolutely
hiding behind a pen name doesn't work like it used to.
yes,
Because if you're using a pen name and you're hiding behind a pen name, you're going to just blend in with all of the
yes,
pen name puppets that these handful of authors who do know how to use AI really well and can write really good tropic fiction that's what readers want. Like the books are good. There's a lot of AI books that are bad, but there's a lot of AI books that are indetectable, that readers don't know that the book was written with the use of AI throughout. It doesn't trigger any scans or anything. They don't leave the prompts in. And
we hope they don't.
well, that's how they get found out, is by leaving the prompts in. It's not
Yeah.
because people notice that the writing used M dashes or whatever. Like
Right.
if you know what you're doing with the prompting, you can get around the easy detective methods. So differentiating yourself, part of it is voice, part of it is quality, part of it is message and nuance and depth, where there's more to the story than just the surface level. And that depth often comes with revisions. So some different authors approach this differently. Some people, they create the surface level story and it's very fun, and then they start working in the themes. Other people start with the themes and then they kind of build their way up to making the surface level story fun. But however you do it, that kind of timeless book, the kind of book that people want to own and reread, is very different than the pulpy book.
Yes.
The kind of pulpy book people are wanting to read, and they want to read the next one. They never want to go back and reread it because they already read it, and they're just
Right.
It's like a meal, right? You don't want to eat the same meal twice. You might eat the same food twice, but it's like it's been digested. It's like I don't want to.
You don't go back and be like, you remember those chicken McNuggets that I got a week ago? I would
Yeah,
like to go
yeah.
back and have those chicken McNuggets.
Yeah, or
No,
a dog like eating its own vomit, right? It's like
You're
that's
right.
not that's not what
That's not how it
wants.
works. You go get new chicken McNuggets.
Yeah. I was hesitant to cover the story for one reason, and that is that I've never really advocated for rapid release. So even when rapid release worked, it didn't work for very many authors. And what would
Right.
happen is that authors would burn themselves out trying to fake a monthly release schedule, even though they couldn't actually write a book in a month. So they'd spend years writing some books and then bang, 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 release them rapidly, thinking that somehow the Amazon algorithm would bring them free sales, which shows an ignorance of the algorithm, often spurred on by people in Facebook groups giving each other incomplete advice of this is working for me, therefore it should work for you. And this actually is connected with my episode on not writing books in series, because again, I think this is another shift in the zeitgeist, shift in preferences, where it's happening in movies and it's happening in books, where readers are starting to want a good, satisfying standalone book that has a satisfying ending. It concludes itself. And one of the wonderful things about writing a standalone book is that you can be more experimental. You can be more adventurous. You don't have to build a story world with 30 different characters and 20 different plot lines and 10,000 years of history. You can just tell a one book sized story, and it becomes very shareable, and it's a really good way of developing your voice. You can develop your voice much better and faster when you're experimenting with different standalone books, rather than all of your books that you're writing are all tied to that freshman effort that you wrote 10 years ago when you were still learning how to write. And now you're stuck with promises and expectations and quirks from that earlier amateur version of you. And now that you're professional, you're kind of stuck because of those early decisions that you made. So I'm not against series altogether. If you watch that episode to the end, and I actually talked about when writing a series makes sense and when it is a good idea, because it still is a good idea, but it's not a good idea for everyone. And if somebody chooses to write a standalone book, they're not doing something wrong. They're not being they're not sinning. They're not even necessarily making a marketing mistake, right? Most of the classic works of literature are standalone books. It's not very common that a series can be a classic. So sure, Tolkien could do it and Lewis could do it, but who else could do it? It's like,
So there's a principle here, because there's a fallacy people will fall into then when they ascribe to the tortoise method, which is they'll never release a book because it's never good enough. Okay, look, I recommend you use the 80-20 principle. Okay, when we did translation work on the watch floor, when we got a translation to 80%, we pulled the trigger and we sent the report. Okay, because that 80% has all the meat that you need. The 20% is the stuff you're quibbling over. It's, did it mean this, or was it this? Was it this gender word, or was it this gender word? And none of it matters in relevancy to the intel of the actual report, or the impact that the report is actually supposed to have. As soon as you get your book to 80% of the mission it is supposed to accomplish, pull the trigger. And your next 80% will be better than that 80% was.
This is a good point you're making, because there's a gutter on both sides of this bowling alley, right? So one gutter is, I'm writing a book every month, and they're all kind of tropic slop. The other gutter is, I spent 2 years on this book and I still don't think it's ready. And it's like, oh, you're never going to become an author like that.
Exactly.
Like, because you'll never improve. Like, you got to get feedback, you got to get stuff out, you got to get your initial failures out of the way. You got to get the cold water out of the shower so the hot water can come after that. And you can't let the fear be your boss. You can't let it be your guide. Like, if you're worshiping at the altar of fear, you'll never be able to experience or taste any success.
And the god of the altar of fear is named perfection. Okay? Your book will
I'm
never
not afraid. I'm
be
a perfectionist.
perfect. Exactly. No, you're afraid. Okay? As soon as you get the work to 80% of where you know it's going to accomplish its mission, you pull the trigger, you send it out, you take your hits, you get better, and then you write another one. And when it's at 80%, you pull the trigger and you send it out. Because if you don't, you're going to die with a whole bunch of Word documents on your laptop